Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that most people ain't gonna tell you. The real secret to success. Everybody out here talking about success like it's some magic trick, like it's a lottery ticket. You wake up one day and boom, you made it. That's not how it works. I'm here to give you the truth, the kind of truth that ain't sugarcoated. Success is not about talent. It's about persistence. This idea may sound simple, even obvious, but in reality, it is the foundation of every great achievement. People often assume that the most successful individuals in the world must be the most gifted, the smartest, the most talented, the most naturally capable. But when you look closely, you'll find that talent alone rarely carries anyone across the finish line. What truly separates the winners from the rest is their persistence, their refusal to quit, their ability to get back up after each fall, and their hunger to keep moving even when the road is dark, lonely, and uncertain. Persistence is the quiet force that keeps pushing when the excitement fades. It's easy to be motivated in the beginning when the dream is fresh and the world seems full of possibilities. But when the hard days come, and they always do, that motivation disappears. What's left is your will, your choice to continue when there's no applause, no reward, and no visible progress. Talent might give you a head start, but it's persistence that keeps you in the race. Many people quit not because they lack talent, but because they lack the patience to struggle. They believe that if success doesn't come quickly, it probably won't come at all. But real success doesn't happen overnight. It's built in silence. It's crafted through years of showing up, failing, learning, adjusting, and trying again. The people who achieved their dreams are the ones who kept showing up when everyone else stopped. They understood that consistency is more valuable than intensity. You don't have to be the best every day. You just have to keep going. Look at the stories of those who made it big. You'll find rejection letters, closed doors, unpaid bills, and sleepless nights. They were told they weren't good enough, smart enough, or talented enough, but they didn't let those voices define them. They believed in their purpose and chose to persist. That choice to keep moving despite everything is what eventually brought them success. Even the most gifted people need persistence. A person with natural talent might rise quickly, but without the discipline to endure, they will fall just as fast. On the other hand, someone with average ability but unshakable determination can slowly climb to the top and stay there. That's the kind of success that lasts. The kind built on resilience, not just brilliance. Persistence also teaches you things talent never can. It develops character. It builds mental toughness. It humbles you. It forces you to grow. When you persist through failure, you learn how to adapt. When you push through fatigue, you develop endurance. When you keep going despite fear, you become courageous. These lessons are priceless, and they prepare you not just for success, but for the responsibility that comes with it. So many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect time, the perfect idea, or the perfect opportunity. But successful people don't wait. They start. They take imperfect action. They get it wrong, and they keep going anyway. Their secret weapon is not that they always win, it's that they never stop. They're willing to look foolish, to fall flat on their face, and to try again while others are sitting on the sideline. That mindset turns ordinary people into extraordinary success stories. No one tells you how lonely success can be. It's one of those truths that gets left out of the motivational speeches, the highlight reels, and the success stories people love to share. We hear about the big wins, the applause, the recognition, the lifestyle, and the rewards. But behind that shiny curtain is a quiet, often isolating journey that very few talk about. When you set out to do something different, to chase a dream, to create a life on your own terms, you quickly realize that not everyone around you is on the same path. And that difference creates distance, emotional, mental, and sometimes even physical. You'll start to feel like you don't fit in with the crowd you used to belong to. At first, it's exciting. You're full of energy and ambition. You're moving towards something big and it feels good. But as time goes on, you notice the gap widening. Friends stop understanding your choices. Some people even become resentful or judgmental. They say you've changed. They say you're too focused, too serious, too unavailable. And maybe they're right, you have changed. Growth demands it. Progress doesn't come without sacrifice. And one of the first things you often have to let go of is the comfort of fitting in. The truth is, you can't take everyone with you. Not everyone is meant to walk the whole journey with you. Some people are only meant for a chapter, not the whole book. Late nights, early mornings, missed gatherings, lost connections, all these are common on the road to success. While others are partying, relaxing, or living what seems like a normal life, you're grinding, creating, studying, building, and sometimes you question if it's worth it. You wonder if you're doing the right thing. That's the kind of mental pressure that people don't talk about, because loneliness isn't just about being alone physically, it's about the emotional weight of not being understood, of walking a path that no one else around you is on. The higher you climb, the thinner the air gets. Few people understand your perspective, your values shift, your priorities change, and the people who once cheered you on may grow silent. It doesn't always mean they're bad people. Sometimes it's just life pulling people in different directions. But it still stings. And unless you're mentally prepared for it, that loneliness can feel like something's wrong with you. But in truth, it's just a part of the price you pay for choosing a life of purpose over a life of comfort. You start to find comfort in solitude. You begin to understand that peace is better than popularity. You value alignment over attachment. And slowly, you begin to build a new circle. People who understand your mindset, who speak the same language of growth, purpose, and vision. But getting there takes time. In the meantime, you learn to be your own support system. You become your own cheerleader, your own motivator, your own company. In the quiet moment, you learn to sit with your thoughts, your doubts, your fears, and push forward anyway. It's power in that kind of loneliness. It shapes you, it sharpens you. It forces you to confront yourself, and in that process, you find strength you never knew you had. You stop chasing validation from others and start focusing on your internal compass. You build unshakable faith in your direction. Even when the crowd disappears, you learn that success isn't just about winning. It's about becoming someone who can carry the weight of that success with grace, integrity, and resilience. Discipline beats motivation every single time. While motivation feels good and gets people excited, it comes and goes like waves. It's emotional, it's temporary, and it's often triggered by outside influences, a speech, a quote, a movie, a life event. But discipline is internal. It's a decision you make every day regardless of how you feel. Motivation is what makes you want to start something. Discipline is what makes you finish. That's the difference between people who try and people who achieve. Most people start strong and full of energy, but when the motivation wears off, so does their commitment. They skip days, they lose focus, they make excuses. Discipline is what keeps you moving even when it's boring, even when you're tired, even when you don't see immediate results. In the real world, the people who make progress are not always the most talented, the smartest, or the most confident. They're the ones who made a non-negotiable decision to show up every day. They don't wait for inspiration. They don't need a perfect moment. They build routines, they create systems, they practice when no one is watching. not in bursts of energy, but in long stretches of quiet consistency. A disciplined person can accomplish what a motivated person never will, because discipline shows up after motivation has left the room. There's a big lie that success should feel exciting all the time, but most of the work behind it is repetitive, tedious, and mentally draining. That's where discipline becomes your best friend. It keeps you grounded. It makes you immune to distractions. It allows you to focus on the long-term goal instead of getting lost in short-term comfort. When you have discipline, you don't negotiate with your emotions. You train yourself to follow through even when you don't feel like it. That builds character. That builds trust with yourself. That turns your word into your law. People who rely on motivation often burn out or bounce from one goal to another, never building anything solid. They always chasing the next spark. But discipline creates structure, and structure leads to mastery. You want to get better at something, you want to be successful in any field, then you need to repeat the boring parts over and over until you become unstoppable. Whether it's waking up early, reading, writing, training, saving, learning, none of it is glamorous, but the ones who keep doing it every single day, with or without applause, are the ones who eventually stand out. Discipline also gives you freedom. That sounds like a contradiction, but it's the truth. When you discipline with your time, your habits, and your choices, you gain control over your life. You don't live in reaction. You live with intention. You get more done with less stress. You make clear decisions because you're not being swayed by every passing feeling. You build a strong foundation, and over time, that foundation supports bigger and bigger goals. You don't fear failure as much because you know your discipline will carry you through any setback. Another thing about discipline is that it builds mental toughness. It strengthens your ability to delay gratification. You stop needing instant results. You stop quitting when things get hard. You become the kind of person who follows through. And that identity shift is powerful. It's no longer about whether something is hard or whether you're in a mood. It's just what you do. That identity creates unstoppable momentum. You become reliable. You become consistent. You become dangerous, not because you're the loudest, not because you're the most gifted, but because you're the one who never stops showing up. Fear doesn't guard. You just learn to move with it. This is one of the most misunderstood truths about personal growth and success. People wait for fear to disappear before they take action. They wait to feel brave, to feel confident, to feel fully ready. But that moment rarely comes. Fear is not something you eliminate. It's something you learn to carry. The people who achieve great things are not fearless. They just decided that fear wasn't going to be the reason they stayed stuck. They didn't wait for perfect courage to show up. They acted with trembling hands, pounding hearts, and uncertain minds. They did it scared, and that made them powerful. Fear is a natural part of stepping into the unknown. Anytime you move towards something meaningful, fear shows up. It whispers in your ear, playing worst-case scenarios and reminding you of every failure, every rejection, every insecurity. It tells you you're not good enough, not ready, not qualified. But the presence of fear doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. Often it means you're exactly where you're supposed to be, because fear only shows up when you're doing something that matters. Comfort never calls fear. Change does. Growth does. Dreams do. And the bigger your dream, the louder fear tends to get. What separates successful people from the rest is how they respond to fear. Most people retreat. They let fear paralyze them. They turn back to what's familiar, even if it means settling for less than they're capable of. But those who grow learn to walk forward with fear as a companion, not an enemy. They feel the fear, acknowledge it, but they don't let it take the wheel. They understand that courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward. That mindset changes everything. Because once you stop trying to fight fear, you free up energy to take action in spite of it. Learning to live with fear is a skill. It's like building a tolerance for discomfort. The more you practice it, the more familiar it becomes. The first time you speak up, take a risk, or step outside your comfort zone, the fear feels overwhelming. But the more you do it, the more you realize that fear doesn't have the final word. You survived that uncomfortable moment. You made it through the risk, and each time you do, your confidence grows, not because the fear is gone, but because you've proven to yourself that you can handle it. Fear also has a message, and sometimes it's useful. It shows you what matters. You don't fear things that are irrelevant. If you're scared to fail, it means you care. If you're scared to be judged, it means you're stepping into visibility. If you're scared to speak your truth, it means you're tapping into something real. Instead of running from fear, you can learn from it. Let it show you where you need to grow. Let it show you what you value. And then let your commitment to your purpose be louder than your fear. There's no version of success that comes without fear. Every successful person you admire has felt it, faced, and worked through it. They didn't let it stop them from starting the business, writing the book, giving the speech, making the move, or chasing the dream. They didn't feel ready, but they did it anyway. That willingness to act in the presence of fear is what builds resilience. It's what separates those who stay stuck from those who rise. When you learn to move with fear, you realize it loses some of its power. It becomes background noise instead of a barrier. You stop waiting for bravery and start practicing it. You stop asking, what if I fail, and start asking, what if I don't try? Because in the end, fear may never go away, but you can become the kind of person who keeps going anyway. The real secret is outlasting everyone else. In a world that glorifies speed, instant results, and overnight success, the ones who truly make it are the ones who don't stop. They're not necessarily the fastest, the smartest, or the most talented, but they're the most relentless. They keep showing up when others give up. They keep moving forward when others lose interest. They keep grinding through the boring, the painful, the discouraging, and the invisible phases of the journey. Success isn't about who starts the strongest, it's about who stays the longest. Most people quit too soon, not because they can't succeed, but because they don't have the endurance to stay in the game long enough to see their efforts pay off. Every dream has a process, and that process is longer than most people expect. It's not just about working hard for a few months or even a year. It's about doing the work day after day, year after year, without always seeing results. The world doesn't reward short bursts of effort. It rewards consistency. It rewards those who keep showing up when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when no one believes. If you can learn to stay, to hold on, to keep your feet planted when the storm hits, you've already beaten half the people. Because most people don't lose, they just leave too early. Outlasting everyone else doesn't mean being the loudest or the flashiest. It means being steady. It means waking up and doing what you said you would do long after the motivation fades. It means trusting the process even when you're frustrated. It means pushing through the days when nothing seems to be working. It means taking failure as part of the path, not as the end of the road. It's about developing the kind of patience and persistence that makes you dangerous, not because you're aggressive, but because you're unshakable. The truth is, most people are addicted to instant gratification. They start something, and when it doesn't give quick rewards, they move on to the next thing. They chase highs instead of building depth. But success isn't built on moments of excitement. It's built in the trenches. It's built in the quiet moments where you could choose to quit, but you don't. It's built in the days where you want to give up, but instead you dig deeper. Your ability to outlast isn't just about physical endurance. It's about mental and emotional toughness. It's about being committed to your vision even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when no one else understands. Time is a powerful force. When you commit to something and give it time, you start to separate yourself from the crowd. The longer you stay in the game, the more you learn. The more you learn, the better you get. And the better you get, the more opportunities show up. Most people never reach that stage because they didn't stick around long enough. But if you can learn to wait, to grow through the struggle, to survive the seasons of doubt, you will reach places others never see. Outlasting everyone else is about building a mindset of resilience. It's about seeing the long game and being willing to play it. It's about not letting failure break you, but teach you. It's about refusing to give up on something just because it's taking time. Everything worth having takes time. Everything meaningful takes work. And while others are quitting, complaining, or jumping ship, you're still there. You're still building. You're still learning. You're still becoming stronger. And in the end, that's what makes a difference. Not brilliance, not luck, not talent. Just the ability to keep going when others stop. Your mindset is the gatekeeper to your future. Everything you achieve, everything you pursue, everything you overcome begins in the mind. Before anything becomes reality, it starts as a thought. That's why your thoughts are not just harmless ideas floating in your head. They're the building blocks of your life. The way you think about yourself, about your abilities, about the world around you, either opens doors or closes them. Strong mindset doesn't just help you survive challenges, it gives you the power to turn those challenges into stepping stones. The difference between someone who breaks down and someone who breaks through often lies in how they think when things get hard. Most people underestimate the power of mindset. They focus on skills, connections, resources, or luck, but overlook the fact that none of those matter if your mindset is weak. You can have all the tools and still fail if your mind is filled with doubt, fear, and negativity. But you can have very little and still succeed if your mind is anchored in belief, resilience, and purpose. Your mindset is the filter through which you experience life. It colors every opportunity, every setback, every conversation, every goal. If that filter is filled with self-doubt, you'll talk yourself out of greatness. If it's filled with confidence and clarity, you'll walk into rooms knowing you belong there. Your mindset determines how you respond to failure. People with a growth mindset see failure as feedback. They don't take it personally. They don't allow it to define them. They use it to improve, to adjust, to try again. On the other hand, those with a fixed mindset see failure as proof that they're not good enough. They stop trying, they shrink back, and eventually they settle for a life far below their potential. But the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. And only a strong mindset can carry you through that process without breaking. Your mindset also decides how you handle adversity. Life will challenge you. It will test your patience, your faith, your will to keep going. When that happens, it's not your money, your education, or your status that will save you. It's your mindset. It's the inner voice that says, this is hard, but I'm harder. This hurts, but I'm healing. This is tough, but I'm tougher. The mind can be your prison or your power. It can hold you back or it can push you forward. The choice is yours every single day. Success doesn't start with action. It starts with belief. If you believe it's possible, you'll find a way. If you believe you deserve it, you'll work for it. If you believe you're capable, you'll take risks that others avoid. That belief comes from training your mind to reject limitations, to silence the noise, to focus on progress over perfection. It comes from feeding your mind with truth instead of fear, with hope instead of despair, with possibilities instead of problems. Your mindset is also what shapes your identity. When you start thinking differently, you start seeing yourself differently. And when your identity changes, your behavior follows. You no longer settle for less. You no longer tolerate excuses. You no longer let temporary emotions drive permanent decisions. A powerful mindset creates discipline, vision, and endurance. It makes you unstoppable, not because you avoid struggle, but because you can handle it with grace and grit. Everything external is temporary. Circumstances change. People leave. Opportunities come and go. But your mindset is what remains. It is the one thing you carry with you everywhere. The silent force that either holds you back or lifts you up. Train it, guard it, feed it, and protect it like your future depends on it. Because it does. Your future is shaped by the thoughts you allow, the beliefs you nurture, and the perspectives you choose to hold, especially when life doesn't go according to plan.